Hello, everyone, and welcome back to It's a Wonderful Podcast. Save me from this hell, please. Today, we are talking about a really happy movie called Animal Farm. Morgan, how you doing, mate?
Do you know what? I'm honestly doing better than I was doing after Watership Down.
Why does the world
really
suck? Why does the world suck?
Look, yeah, that's what we're talking about today. Nolan's not having a good day.
That horse deserved better.
He's not having a good day after watching Animal Farm. I believe to start us off, I believe Animal Farm is the first British feature-length animated film.
I believe so as well, but why does it have to be so sad?
Because it is British.
Fair
and
enough.
Blame George Orwell. Don't blame the animators, blame George Orwell for being a very good writer.
I love George Orwell's work.
Why did you pick Animal Farm, Nolan?
I picked Animal Farm because I remember reading about it at school and watching bits of the movie, but I thought, okay, now that I'm an adult, maybe I'll understand it a bit more than when I was a kid. Sadly, I underestimated it and I understood it a bit too much, and it's brought me to downing my third dry gate lager with citrus notes that I got from the beer factory.
Yeah, remember last episode when Nolan was drinking? He's actually still drinking. He's not stopped in a week. It's really unhealthy. It's what Animal Farm can do to you.
There's been a great Chinese sitting in my living room and I haven't even touched it.
No, though I really appreciate this. I really appreciate the story. Like, I've never personally actually read Animal Farm.
It's quite a short read.
I know it's a really, really tiny novella.
It's like a Mice and Men.
To be honest, I think to be honest, after watching this, I'm more inclined to go and read it just because I think it's. Well, I mean, I'm sure school children for older than us, because I know. Well, I know that my mother studied Animal Farm at high school. So I'm sure people have analysed the story of Animal Farm to death over the years.
It's probably every 12-year-old edgelord's favourite book.
Of course they have. But, for a reason, and the reason is that it's such a on-point satire of how, stuff like communism can seem wonderful at the start, but then human beings get involved. Human individuality gets involved and cocks up communism for everyone. All animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others.
Fuck Napoleon.
That's Animal Farm. That's the big point of Animal Farm, isn't it? Pigs are the worst.
Ugh.
We can all agree with that.
It's something that really unsettled me when I was thinking about it. During the first action scene in Animal Farm, when they all rise up against the farmer, and of course the farmer's going to look like your typical British farmer.
Yeah, the farmer was horrible, man, to be fair to him.
He was, but, he looked like... Oh, fuck, I just realised. He looks like that guy who is the Headless Spectre in the Scooby-Doo episode.
Was it the guy who's there? He does. Oh, he does as well.
But this thing is not as happy as Scooby-Doo, because after that action scene, you see that a dog has died, and the puppies have been left motherless, and it's cute little puppies. I'm a dog person. I love puppies and everything. Fucking Napoleon turns them into killing machines, and I want to kill him for it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the first sort of... That's the revolution right there. That's the start of... See, that particular battle where the dog dies and they overthrow the farmer as, the major battles of the Russian Revolution. That's essentially that's what it is. Obviously, the farmer is removed from his own farm, and the animals take over. And first of all, it's all very nice. They've got the nice list of perfectly fair-sounding rules. All animals are equal. No animal can kill another animal. I mean, I'm not so sure about the 4 feet yes, 2 feet no, or 4 feet good, 2 feet bad
That's
rule.
some good foreshadowing there, I think. And
Yeah,
it
it
says
is.
a lot about even modern day society. Like, say, oh yeah, this type of person is fine, but this type of person isn't fine. But then once they start blurring the lines between them, it can make it a really tricky thing. It's like, I don't want this to sound too timely, but it's like when people think all Muslims are terrorists, and that's not
It's
the case
exactly
at
the
all.
same. It's exactly the same as that, and I mean, it's what Animal Farm has been so well regarded as doing over the years since since the book's release, is that it just paints the perfect, easy to understand picture of this kind of prejudice in power that is being passed off as sort of, this is a great thing. Why would you not love this thing?
It reminds me
We're
of
not
that.
changing.
Reminds me
We're
of
not
that
changing.
meme when some guy is like saying everything's fine and everything around him is burning.
Yeah, it's like we're not changing rules behind your back. No, we're not changing rules at all. Like, I love some of the narration
Oh yeah,
in
it's very classic storytelling.
Animal Farm. It is, but like some of it where like certain rules have been changed by the pigs that are ultimately in power. I think
Pigs in
it's
power, that's another thing. Sometimes
yeah,
people call cops pigs.
it's something. I think it's where I forget his name, the guy who comes to trade with them,
Yeah, I forgot his name too
and
because I was too busy getting angry at Napoleon.
the hens are forced to give up their eggs for trade. For whatever food products this fella's bringing in, and the narration, it says something like, I seem to remember a rule where we were allowed to keep our eggs, but we must be wrong. And it's just like, these pigs are changing the rules, and Napoleon's changing the rules. I love how his name's Napoleon. I've always loved that. Because obviously, not that Napoleon's got anything to do with the Russian Revolution, but Napoleon's still a nasty guy.
I had to talk about that because someone misunderstood that in my English class.
Okay, go for it.
They thought that Napoleon was a satire of Napoleon, the small man syndrome thing, but he's really not Napoleon at all. He's more Joseph Stalin.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what he is.
But if they called him Stalin, it might have been a bit on the nose. I think maybe if they called that pig Joe, it could have been a bit more subtle.
That's not a bad shout. That's not a bad shout, actually.
But Napoleon, it's like a classic villain name.
Obviously, it has been since Napoleon Bonaparte existed. It's been a classic villain name. Like I said, not that this Napoleon has got anything to do.
Now that I think about it, calling him Joe
French Emperor
could have said a lot about his theme. Like, I don't want to say I can write this better than George Orwell, but the fact that the villain is a regular Joe, like,
well, I mean, regular Joe is a very American term.
yeah, true. And this is very British, and it's all voiced by one guy. That surprised me.
There's barely any voice work in it.
Yeah, every bit of voice work, I think, besides the narrator, is all done by one person.
That's really cool, because there's some very interesting sounds that guy can make then when he's sort of doing the voice of a pig or doing the voice of a donkey.
Yeah, very unsettling when it comes to donkey noises.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Why why don't you just why don't you go into what the basic sort of plot and story of Animal Farm is?
Is, if you've been to a history class, you know what Animal Farm is. It's basically all these animals rise up, get rid of their human owner, and then decide to create a society for themselves. And then it's basically, it's weird that I'm going to say this is like a Lord of the Flies situation, because that came way after. But it's like what happens when you leave someone to their own rules and have them make up their own rules. You're going to have disagreement. You're going to have people who want to be in power. It's a story you've seen a lot. Like, and a good example of it might be Dawn of the Planet of the Apes has kind of got a similar narrative in that story. And basically any historical kind of epic, I think, is got a lot of similarities to Animal Farm.
Yeah.
But it goes pretty much how you think it would. Slowly, you have this idealistic pig named Snowball, who we all like. Snowball's a very idealistic guy. He's smart. Yeah. He thinks knowledge is the best way to teach people, which I agree with. I think the best teachers are people who teach you how to think for yourselves, not necessarily showing you what the right way is.
Do you think Snowball's plan would have worked?
That's the thing. I don't think it would have worked, but I think his heart was in the right place, so he might have found a way to make it work eventually. It would have been a struggle, and it might have been a completely different story, but I think that's the point of it, is like, the whole point is that, George Orwell's smarter than most writers would be, because if another writer did this, it might be a very black and white scenario. You can sort of see why Napoleon wants to overthrow him, but then again, you can also kind of see, Snowball's very idealistic, but he's also not very realistic. It's very real-worldy and that kind of thing. But of course Napoleon takes it too far and fucking kills him, using puppies. What a dick.
Well, yeah, but like you said before, Napoleon is Joseph Stalin. Joseph Stalin loved nothing more than murdering people who he didn't like.
Ugh, God.
That's what he did. It's why Animal Farm is the perfect way. It's the perfect way to teach younger people about the Russian Revolution, because you show them Animal Farm and then you say, well, okay,
they get it.
Now you've seen Animal Farm, let's just show you the actual people and what actually happened, and it's a much more understandable idea then.
Yeah,
for everyone.
And that's a great thing I think fiction can do, is that it can be entertaining and it can follow a great story, but it can also teach stuff, but in that kind of comforting way. Like
Absolutely.
If you have a story that has great ideals in it, but they aren't being preached to someone, and they're handled tastefully and well done, then it can be a very great experience, because I think the best stories, they don't tell you what the right answer is, but they give you all the ingredients and let you figure it out for yourself.
Yeah, that's fair, and I think a sort of really interesting part of this film version of Animal Farm is the fact that the animation, it's not done in the sort of bleak way that was Watership Down.
Yeah, it's very alive.
It's very, I don't want to say Disney-fied, but the animals, they look more like Disney animals than they do like the Watership Down rabbits.
Which is weird, because this budget for Animal Farm was pretty low.
Yeah, but I mean, I think, having them look like that is sort of easier for then the younger audiences who may watch this. Not that they should watch it, because the content is just a bit nasty.
I think kids are okay to watch this, to be honest.
I mean,
it's not. It doesn't like rile in darkness, but it does show kids that the world's not as great as you think it is.
Yeah, okay.
I would let. I always judge movies like this based on, would I let my little cousin watch this? And the answer, yes. Yeah. I would let little Millie watch this.
Fair enough. One particular sort of aspect of the film I really like is the fact that it focuses on the horse and the donkey as the two friends. And no one's crying right now. But, I mean, obviously you have the idea of Napoleon and all the pigs, basically living in splendor while all the other animals who they are forcing to work for them basically living in squalor. But, there's a big sign on the wall saying all animals are equal, so that's good enough, isn't it, right? No, it's not good enough at all. But I love the sort of, because obviously there's no speaking involved, but I love the friendship between Boxer and, is it Boxer and Benjamin?
Yeah, Benjamin's the name of the donkey.
I love that little friendship, because it's frequently said that they are, or Boxer at least, is the strongest and most hard-working animal there.
Oh, and definitely more than Napoleon.
You see that because he's the one that's building the windmill essentially on his own. And then, obviously, none of that is at all appreciated by the pigs sat there feasting and just aggravating people.
I would turn them into bacon if I fucking could.
It's nasty. It's nasty. And I mean, you don't want to liken it to the modern world, because ultimately Animal Farm was written about the rise of Stalin. But you don't want to liken it to the modern world, but you can see how some particular high-up politicians are very much acting like Napoleon in Animal Farm. And
they say absolute power corrupts. That's not the case. Absolute power shows you what was hidden deep within the whole time.
Again, the point of all animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others, is just a really, really perfect quote. Just to summarise governmental society-based prejudice. Because people always like to say, yeah, we're all equal, yeah, that's fine, that's great. But as is shown with something like this, certain people very much don't believe that to be the case and just sort of pass it off as the case because that's the quote-unquote right thing to do,
Yeah, and there's kind of a tragedy in that. I'm sorry about this. My brother's just brought me through noodles because he knows I was unhappy, and noodles make me happy. But the tragedy in that, I think, is Boxer was working the hardest out of all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And when he stopped working, that's when Napoleon decided he's not worth anything to us anymore. And
yeah.
I think when they do ship Boxer off, and the book does it a little differently. Apparently, in the book, it was like, it wasn't actually the glue factory. It was only a little place where horses go, and then they end up being free or whatever. But the film makes it seem as if it is the glue factory, and I think it's just Benjamin's reaction that just made it all the more scary for me.
Yeah.
It was just upsetting. And I'm not even a horse guy.
Oh no, I couldn't be further from a horse guy, to be honest with you. I don't particularly care for horses. But yeah, nobody wants to see any character of any species run after his friend screaming like that because he knows that he's never going to see his friend again, and his friend is going to ultimately end up dead.
And he got it for alcohol. If it was like an ends justify the means thing, I might have been more forgiving, but the fact that it was, we got it so we could get booze, that just made me all the more angry.
Yeah. It's, I think, I mean, we could compare this to what we talked about with Fantastic Planet last week, in the fact that there are, these certain characters that sort of lord over the other characters and treat them as lesser beings.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're comparing the two, Fantastic Planet is a much sort of... I mean, it's an unpleasant film in certain situations, but Animal Farm, it hits too close to home sometimes, because I don't know if it's the fact that, you know, they're all animals and they're supposed to be people, whereas in Fantastic Planet, they're, you know, the Ohms are people that are treated like animals.
Mm-hmm.
These are animals that are treated like people. It's like Watership Down. It's like what I found really unsettling about Watership Down is that the rabbits were very much human-like.
Mm-hmm.
And in Animal Farm, it's exactly the same. It's a tough film to watch when you understand that this still goes on in the world.
One of the most unsettling parts for me was when the rules are changed, but it's done in the animal's blood.
Oh yeah, what was it? Is it like no animal
Shall
kill another animal, and that's the original rule, and then under it just says without cause
in blood, and it's just
in blood.
Terrifying.
Like,
like this is a real kind of horror thing. Like, you know,
it is. It's very real.
A lot of people think like, oh, you know, horror has to be supernatural, but I think when horror plays on something that's very real, like this, and this isn't even a horror movie, but it makes it the more scary and like more understanding, and like, you know, not every horror or every thing like this has to be so fantastical. It can have all these real world ideas, and it can make the story stronger, but it's ultimately used as like a teaching tool. And that's why Animal Farm has been studied for so long, like why kids read it, so they get to know this stuff in a way they understand. Because kids, they're empathetic. They cry when Bambi's mom dies. Imagine showing them this.
Look, I want to bring it up to my school teachers as to why I never studied Animal Farm. I mean, yes, I studied To Kill a Mockingbird, which in itself is has very wonderful messages in it and is a very great novel. But I feel like it wouldn't have taken a long time to study Animal Farm because it's so short. And
a complimentary, obvious Ashley Davis plug there. She loves To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yes, of course. But no, I would have loved to really delve deep into sort of group discussion on Animal Farm, you know, when I was a bit younger, because there are certain stories that just seem like the most important stories that have ever been written.
This is definitely one of them.
I think this is one of them, and this is a great. As far as I know the story of Animal Farm. I've never read it, but I know the story of it. This is a great adaptation of that story.
I actually think it's a better adaptation than the book.
You feel like this film is actually a better version of the story?
Weirdly enough, George Orwell's version is actually a little bit more hopeful.
Maybe I'd prefer that, because at the end of this, you do kind of feel like, oh god, everyone in power is just horrible. And to be fair, look at the world, everyone in power is horrible.
We can just ask Raoul, he lived through this.
That's harsh. You can't bring up stuff
Raoul
like
was
that.
Definitely one of the good animals. He was probably like one of the wiser pigs. He was Snowball.
Raoul was absolutely not a part of the Soviet Union.
No.
Do you know what I want to bring up? The fact that about 2 months ago, where I live, there was somebody dangling a very large Soviet Union flag out of their window.
Did they get their nuts kicked in?
For a considerable length of time.
Wanker.
Like, I'm fascinated by the Soviet Union. I admit to being fascinated by the Russian Revolution and the start of the Soviet Union. But once you get to Stalin, you don't want to be flaunting your apparent, love of the Soviets, do you? I don't know. Maybe some people do. Who am I to judge other people's beliefs? I'm just saying that Animal Farm is a great representation of why, or of how these things that can at first seem very good things can just turn very, very ugly very, very quickly because certain people end up in certain high places of power.
Alright, so what I saw was like there was no difference at the end between the pigs and the humans that they originally hated.
No, not at all.
Basically, they became, if anything, worse. Like, farmers are just doing their jobs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas these guys are just like, oh, we think we're doing our jobs, but they're really just reveling in the power like a bunch of mustache-twirling wankers.
Josef Stalin, of course, had a lovely mustache. Shan't be going...
He will not be inducted into the
Josef Stalin will not be going into the Mustache Hall of Fame. Don't worry. Despite...
No, he can go into the Mustache Hall of Shame.
Despite his admittedly pretty pristine mustache.
He's heading to the Mustache Hall of Shame.
That's not a thing. We can't do that, because that's just a people with bad mustaches. This is a bad man with a good mustache. It's different.
The only thing I would have said about this farm, bring Shrek on there and get him to fuck Napoleon in the ass and kill him and make him into bacon.
Right. I don't know why you need to be so aggressive about it.
I hate Napoleon so much.
You're supposed to hate Napoleon.
But there's so many...
Shrek has to come and do that.
Some villains, I can go by, okay, you're just doing that because you're a villain. No, there's something about Napoleon that just gets under my skin.
It's Voldemort.
Even Voldemort I'm entertained by. With Napoleon, I'm just like, fuck off, you absolute prick.
It's the same idea.
Yeah, it is, except, well, Napoleon has a nose.
Well, yeah, that's true. Napoleon does have a very large pig nose.
Oh, yeah, and then Snowball kind of does represent Dumbledore in a way. Or
I'm just going to say it again. All animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. Does that or does that not sound like Voldemort?
That sounds a lot like Voldemort.
I like everybody, as long as you are pure blood.
Even though I'm a half-blood, and I'm a fucking hippogriff.
Even though I'm a half-blood, and I'm a complete hippogriff. Hippogriff? I just said hippogriff, didn't I?
If Voldemort was a
Voldemort's
hippogriff.
not a hippogriff. Voldemort is a hypocrite.
Oh god, that changes the Prisoner of Azkaban flight scene so much. He's riding
If
Voldemort.
If Voldemort was Buckbeak, who knew? Peter Pettigrew was Scabbers and Voldemort was Buckbeak.
They should have just let Buckbeak
Prisoner of
be
Azkaban
executed.
is weird. No, though, I mean, there's, like you said, Voldemort's much more entertaining than
I love that you're brave enough to say the Dark Lord's name.
I am. The Dark Lord doesn't exist, he's a fictional character.
I still call him Tom Riddle because it's funnier.
It's not funnier though, is it? Just call him Voldemort. It's his name. It's the name he chose. You have to acknowledge the man's wishes. Not that he acknowledged the wishes of anyone else.
No, he's a wanker, and so is Napoleon. And you know what? The last thing I will mention, it is so satisfying to see Benjamin go destroy this Goat High's entire empire and become the empathetic, great balanced leader that this thing needs. Fuck Napoleon.
That's what he.
I hope he becomes a bacon sandwich. I hope they roast him and serve him with mashed potatoes, and that's the end of him.
Okay, I must say, I do like the ending of the, sort of second sort of rise up, second revolution almost that is led by,
which is not
by
in the
Benjamin.
book.
Who is it's not in the book.
No, they just assume that Napoleon would eventually die.
Oh, that. I see why you might think this is a better adaptation. That's great. I mean, you've obviously seen that Benjamin, after Boxer's removal, he's become distraught, and he just decides, right, come on, worker animals. We're going to have a revolution of our own, and because this just hasn't worked.
You know what's great about it, though?
And
Like, not a lot of the animals have speaking dialogue, but you feel all their emotions so well.
exactly. That's a testament to the animators themselves. Because I said before, there's not a lot of actual voice work in the film. A lot of it's silent. A lot of in terms of speaking, and you're just going off
This would work as
the
a silent
actions.
movie, honestly.
It would very much so. You're just going off the actions of each animal and a bit of narration. But no, I do really like the revolution at the end and the way it's animated. The certain shots that he use, just the stone throw into the big portrait of Napoleon that smashes and falls.
Yeah,
And then
that's so satisfying.
you basically just get a the end title card at the end after that, and you've just witnessed the fall of
Napoleon.
the tyrannical leader.
Yeah, it's very hopeful at the end. There is something that's coming out about Animal Farm. It had a couple of other adaptations after this, like on the radio and stuff. But this really intrigued me. Andy Serkis wants to direct a remake of Animal Farm live action with his style.
Of course he does. Is Andy Serkis gonna play Napoleon?
Andy Serkis is probably going to play everybody, let's be honest.
Oh yes, I'm so down for that.
I mean, it's proven it can be done. They did it with the guy who voiced all the people in this. He could be the farmer as well.
I am so down. He can be the farmer. I am so down for that. Full on, all characters, Andy Serkis, Animal Farm. Yes. We need another Animal Farm. Because like I said before, there's certain people in power right now that very much think along the lines of all people are equal, but some people are more equal than others. Very much so.
Yep.
We need another Animal Farm. We need another Animal Farm.
I'm just imagining now, what if Harry Potter was like written like Animal Farm?
What, with pigs?
No, I mean like...
Harry Potter as a chicken.
Yeah, like if they were all animals.
No.
Voldemort would make himself a snake, let's be honest.
Voldemort is a snake, though, isn't he? Voldemort is at least 1/7 snake.
Tom Riddle is a snake. I call him Tom Riddle because that's what Harry calls him at the end of Deathly Hallows, and it's so fucking heroic.
You wouldn't know he calls him that if you hadn't read the book.
True.
No, that's actually not strictly true, is it?
He calls him Tom once in the movie.
He does call him Tom once in the film.
But
anyway, we're
in
not
the book,
talking
he's
about
just constantly calling him Tom Riddle.
We're not talking about Harry Potter. Unless you have anything else to say on Animal Farm, we'll start to wind down this again somewhat shorter episode.
Well, what I'll say about Animal Farm is that it's a timeless story. It's a great story for a great reason. It's one of the books I would give to someone who maybe wants to get into reading, because it's not that hard to read. It's quite easy to understand. It's animated really well. The voice acting's great. It's a bit emotionally distressing, so if you're not into that kind of stuff, this might not be for you, but I recommend you would watch it at least once and really think about how it's influenced by a lot of real-world things. Stop thinking of stories as just being pure escapism. They can draw real-life parallels and be just as interesting.
And watch it as a double feature with last week's episode,
very similar themes, but Animal Farm's definitely a bit more nihilistic.
Yeah, watch it as a double feature. I think you'll come away wanting to watch Fantastic Planet again. I don't think you'll come away wanting to watch Animal Farm again. I want to watch
Fantastic Planet again and feel better about myself.
Well, that's interesting, considering it contains human genocide.
Yeah, the human genocide is better than the death of the horse. I don't even like horses. Why am I getting so sad about the horse?
You've just said that human genocide is better than the death of a horse. Let's just hope this never gets out to the public, which it is doing.
Blame the alcohol, okay?
I want you to retract your statement about human genocide.
Alright, I'm retracting the statement about human genocide and I'm shoveling noodles down my throat. Just so I don't say anything else stupid.
What a glorious episode. I know this has been another shorter episode of It's a Wonderful Podcast, but I hope you have enjoyed it nonetheless. We have said all that we wanted to say on Animal Farm. It's well worth a watch. It's presumably well worth a read if you don't necessarily want to watch it. But yeah, that is it for Animation Month. Nolan, can you believe that's it for Animation Month?
It feels like this journey only began and ended in 1 week.
little inside joke there. Little inside joke.
I can't stop watching the Aquaman trailer, and Mission Impossible Fallout was pretty dope.
Well, by the time has Mission Impossible come? By the time this comes out, well, aren't I having fun? I wonder who's sat next to me right now.
Raoul, we're playing Raoul references.
As this comes out.
Hi, Raoul. Love you, buddy. Sake.
See, Nolan says hi. I'm now looking to my side when I'm recording this, and I will also look to my side right now if I'm listening to this on the day it comes out, just so Raoul's really weirded out by the whole meta idea of me doing that. Anyway, that's a bit weird, isn't it?
He loves meta stuff, but as always, if you want to talk to me, you can find me at NolanDean27. I'm probably posting about a book I've read, most likely.
That's true.
Probably
you are often doing that.
Probably taking selfies with my cousins. My cousin's probably bugging me to let her watch It, but she's 7, so I'm not going to allow that. I'm a responsible cousin. But I might let her watch Animal Farm.
Don't let her watch Animal Farm. Let her watch Fantastic Planet. Let her watch Snow White and just be nice. Don't let her watch Peter Pan.
No, she's not watching Peter Pan. She can watch the 2003 Peter Pan, which I hope Morgan has seen by now.
Probably not, but I don't know when we'll do another animated film after this, but I've really loved talking about 4 really interesting animated films to talk about. Definitely. I know we did Watership Down reasonably recently as well. So we've been on quite the animation kick at the minute. I think it'll be a while before we want to do any more animation. But I do want to hear suggestions for the next genre-specific month.
October's coming up. Hint, hint.
With animation. Well, October is coming up, actually. Okay, sack that off. The next genre month will quite clearly be horror in October. But after that, who knows what genre month we would want to do. So if you have any suggestions for any future genre months, please send them along. And if you have any suggestions for any films you would like us to talk about, then why not? Why not comment them if you are on YouTube? Why not tweet at the show at It's a Wonderful One? If you are on YouTube, please like and subscribe to the channel and check out both mine and Nolan's channels, which are the featured channels on this channel. If I say the word channel again, I may die. If you are on Apple Podcasts, please rate and review and subscribe to the feed on there. Share the episodes around. I hope you have enjoyed Animation Month. Follow me on Twitter at the Purple Dom with a 3 instead of the E in the. Follow Nolan, as he already said.
NolanDean27. Also, if you have any suggestions to improve noodles, please send me those as well, because I'm probably going to go shopping tomorrow.
I just want you all to know that Nolan has been eating a bowl of noodles throughout the entire recording. So if you have heard any of that, blame him, not me, because I hope my audios come out well,
Oh fuck!
and not just a load of eating sounds that yours has done. Probably has. That's probably how it's come out. You know that, don't you?
Right, yeah.
You know that. Be shame. For shame.
I didn't want them to get cold. My brother doesn't often cook for me, so
Oh, that's very nice of him, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Nolan, do you have anything else to say?
If you liked Stories as Lessons this month, please go give them a like and share again. I had one on Ant-Man, one on Donnie Darko, and a little bonus video that I didn't put up as a Patreon thing, but more like a thank you to my Patreons. It's related a bit to Donnie Darko and explores something like that. Why Jake Gyllenhaal's perfect casting for Mysterio, and I'm likely stalking the Spider-Man Far From Home set pictures as we speak, trying to get a glimpse of Mysterio. If you guys get any glimpses of Mysterio, please send them my way. I want to see that fishbowl head in all of its glory.
Nolan's love of Mysterio is beyond reasonable doubt. That doesn't even make it's just beyond reason. It's not beyond reasonable, it's just beyond reason.
I think it's more to do with Jake Gyllenhaal than Mysterio, though, let's be honest.
Well, that's fair enough, I suppose. Anyway, I've got nothing else to say. I'm doing fun stuff right now. To be honest, I tell you what you can go and do is you can go and follow me on Instagram as well, which is just at the Purple Don. There's no 3 or anything in that. It's really much easier. I don't know why Twitter still has the weird guy whose account has been dead for years with the handle the Purple Don, and I have to keep changing mine.
You actually are so angry about this, aren't you?
I don't know why they just have to. I don't know why they can't just get rid of him. He annoys me. There's nothing on his Twitter. There's nothing there. It's been dead for years. Yeah, I'm not happy.
Because you killed him.
But you can go and follow me on Instagram because with where I am in the world right now, there's a lot of stuff going up on that. A lot of my fun times that's going on. But yeah, that is going to do it for Animation Month. It's been a great month. And thank you again for listening to another episode of It's a Wonderful Podcast. Then why the hell do you not just go and check out all the rest of them if you haven't? Because they're all great. They're all great. Are they all great? They're probably not all great. Some of them are great. At least 2 of them are great.
And they all have references to Shrek and Raoul.
They do actually all have references to Shrek. We're still on that. I don't know how you've managed to keep on that train. But, yeah. Anyway, until the next episode, guys, which, to be quite frank, I have no idea what we'll be on. Goodbye.
Goodbye.